I think the backup to Avonte Maddox is one of the most fascinating camp battles that will take place in just about a month. I want to talk about one of the leading candidates here, and Kary Vincent Jr., who is a versatile defender. You want versatility? You want a guy who can play several alignments in the secondary? This is your guy. Let's discuss this potential competition. What's up, Cerebral football fans? My name is Steven Hyder. This is Gate City Sports Channel. Hey guys, I wanted to say a quick thank you before we get into today's topic. We have crossed over 5,000 subscribers. We're heading towards 10,000 subscribers. Hey, if you're new to the channel, you enjoy today's content, I would love for you to be a part of that equation. Just need you to subscribe to do that. To my OG subscribers, you already know I'm going to ask you guys, can you please keep hitting that like button, hit the thumbs up button, help me spike the algorithm and get this in front of new people that we can potentially convert into our little community here at Gate City. All right, y'all. Today's topic is Kary Vincent Jr., the LSU product. A former 7th round pick of the Denver Broncos. A young man that I think is a part of a generalized trend that I've noticed from Howie Roseman over the last few years. In terms of like kind of trying to convert these day 3 picks, right? Where you take a day 3 pick and maybe you give a better pick than what the player was actually drafted at. To me, it all kind of started with Jannard Avery, where we gave a little bit better pick compensation than what he was as a player. We can ultimately argue that didn't become very successful. But we're talking about very low risk, high reward type situations here, guys. You know, then you go to like Josiah Scott. Kary Vincent Jr. is in that mold of players to where, you know, we basically gave a day 3 pick that was above the valuation of what their actual draft status was by the team that drafted them. So, Kary Vincent Jr. comes from a small community just outside of Texas. Played at Memorial High School, I want to say was the name of the high school there. He's a 2-sport athlete, very, very good track guy. Ran the 4x100 meter and apparently put up some pretty impressive times, even at LSU. In 2019, he had a really good showing at LSU on their track and field team. So, very athletic dude. But I want to get into breaking down some of the physical measurements of this young man, and I want to talk about that whole aspect of versatility in alignment. In the last video, where we talked about Tay Gowan, I made a statement there to cue you into the way the scouting world works when it comes to these measurables. I told you guys, don't trust the full 40 time. It's not that it's not important. It's not that it doesn't have merit or use, but it's not the end-all, be-all that some people believe it to be. You have to know the splits. And this is a great example, by the way. Kary Vincent Jr., being a track athlete, put up a 4.39 40-yard dash. Very respectable number, very quick, fast 40 time that you would expect from a guy that's going to play inside, can play the slot, can play outside as a wide corner and over the top. He has some athletic traits here. But this is where the splits get important, right? Let's go back. A guy who ran a full 1/10 of a second less than him, right? Was slower, I should say. Not less, but slower than him. Tay Gowan ran a 4.49, right? But let's look at their 10-yard splits, because Tay Gowan had a 1.53 10-yard split. He's a fast starter. Dude really gets off the line fast. When you look at Kary Vincent Jr., who is a 4.39 40 guy, he had a 1.59 10-yard split. That's really kind of a slow get-off for a dude that's running a 4.39. He's a build-up to speed guy. And that's where these splits get kind of like, you have to really know the numbers. But when you go to the 20-yard split, you get to the point of the build-up to speed. 2.52 20-yard split. Generally speaking, when you're hovering around a 1.6, if you're getting close to a 2.5 in the 20 split, it means you got some speed, man. This guy's got a lot of build-up. Once he gets there, it's fast. He's got a tremendous second gear is what I'm saying, guys. Kary Vincent is part of this new wave of guys entering the league that are being a little bit more selective about the drills they run. I know we can make the argument that guys have always been a little selective, but you notice a lot of guys are opting out of certain drills. A lot of dudes just want no part of running the L drill, 3-cone drill, depending on the position they're playing. The short shuttle, the 20-yard shuttle, which for a corner, we can make the argument of how important is that lateral movement drill. How much does it really tell you? I'm not really sure. I'm sure if you talk to certain scouts, they would make a very nuanced argument around that discussion. But nonetheless, Kary Vincent Jr. is a guy that, like, before we were talking about Tay Gowan, we were talking about Zach McPherson, we were talking about some of these other guys, we had data. We had data to go look at. And we could see how similar their L drills, their 3-cone drills were. We talked about James Bradbury. We talked about, guys like Darius Slay and guys like Tay Gowan and Zach McPherson, and how they all were under a 7-second three-cone drill, L drill. We don't have that kind of data here to go off of. So he's a wave of this kind of new age of athletes where they just don't do that anymore. However, when you get to the film on Kary Vincent Jr., especially if you go back to the 2019 season, obviously the season that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and those guys won the actual National Football Championship, you can see a really interesting story paint its way out when it comes to Kary Vincent Jr., which is this young man is very versatile as a defender in the back seven, meaning primarily a nickel guy at LSU, logged over 600 snaps at LSU as a nickel corner. But he also played about 12 snaps out wide as a wide corner. He played over the top as a free safety, and he played some snaps in the box, kind of basically alluding to being a strong safety. The young man pretty much played each and every alignment at LSU in 2019, and there was a tremendous wave in 2020 of momentum saying that this young man was going to take a huge, large jump in 2020 and be one of those dudes on that LSU team. But he opted out. And then he said that he was preparing himself for the 2021 NFL Draft, and basically the Denver Broncos took a flyer on him just based upon pure athleticism, brought him in as a 7th-round pick, which is what you're supposed to do in that round, guys, is you take flyers on guys that might have the underlying athleticism to develop into that. They did the right thing. The Eagles clearly agreed with the Broncos and actually traded up, gave a 6th-round pick for that 7th-round pick to acquire him last season. So, versatility. This is a very, very versatile player. And to illustrate this point, when I look at the season and what he did in Philly, he only entered the game once, okay, as playing meaningful snaps in a football game on defense. Week 18 versus Dallas, guys. While he logged 18 coverage snaps, in that game he actually played 25 total snaps. And they were all outside as a wide cornerback. He was targeted 4 times, gave up 4 completions for 100% completion rate, which this is where a lot of the corners, a lot of you guys, I hear the feedback. Guys are saying, Steve, please make sure you give people like a full, complete detail about these type of things. Cool. Gave up 100% completion rate. But his average depth of target was 3.5 yards, guys, so they were checking it down on him. He was coming up and making the play. Hence the reason, while he gave up 4 completions for 100% completion rate, he only gave up like 30-some yards, like 36, 39 yards total. So, not a lot to break this guy down off of, right? Week 17, he finally enters the game as some special teams role. And then week 18, he gets on the field, but as an outside corner. And in this conversation today, I'm discussing the possibility that he could be one of the guys competing actually for the backup spot to Avonte Maddox. And let's end that discussion right there. Let's go into just that discussion in itself about who the candidates are. I can't explain it other than to say that this is clearly important to the Eagles, because just listen to the names of guys who can play inside behind Avonte Maddox if necessary. You got a guy like Kary Vincent Jr. who can play outside, inside, over the top as a safety. This guy can compete on your roster in many ways. And that might be the ticket to him being the 6th corner. Because what I'm talking about is keeping 10 members in the secondary, okay? The way I see the roster kind of breaking down currently is 10 secondary members, 6 linebackers, and 9 defensive linemen, okay? Now, can you fudge and move numbers? Can you keep maybe one more player on defense than you keep on offense? Sure. Different ways of getting the same results, right? But ultimately, what I'm looking at is 10 members of the secondary. Do you keep 5 corners and 5 safeties, 4 safeties and 6 corners? My gut instinct is that a guy like Kary Vincent Jr. allows you to keep that 6th corner who has the ability to play some safety if it became necessary. Andre Chachere, same kind of argument, right? Can play outside, can play inside, can play over the top. Currently, from what I understand, is they actually moved him into the safety room, and he's a special teams ace. And that's another part of the conversation. Kary Vincent Jr., just like all these young guys, did not enter into any games, did not contribute to the team till the second half of the season for the most part. He played in 2 games the last 2 weeks of the season. 1 game is playing actually on defense, 2 games on special teams, week 17, week 18. If you look at that battle, guys, you have Josiah Scott. You have Jimmy Moreland, who they brought in here, who's a veteran. You have Josh Blackwell, who's an undrafted rookie free agent they brought in. You have Craig James, who's a veteran guy and a guy who has played inside and outside for the Eagles. So he's a guy that, when healthy, showed the ability to actually make this roster and to be a decent special teams player on top of it. He's also a fairly athletic guy himself. Now you got Kary Vincent Jr. The crazy thing is I think in different ways, I mean, you can make the argument that Josh Blackwell has a lot to prove with this group of guys in front of him. But I do think that they're high on Josiah Scott. They clearly like Kary Vincent Jr. they didn't just sign Jimmy Moreland for the heck of signing him. Like, they brought him in here to clearly push these dudes and to bring that veteran presence, to know that they have stability if it is necessary. I think the way you have to look at this is who's the guy that makes the team? Who's the guy that you can carry on your practice squad, right? I mean, that's the other side of this is as you weigh this between keeping a fifth safety versus a sixth corner, can you slip dudes onto the practice squad to be developed? That's the other side of this, guys. All right, y'all. If you guys enjoyed today's conversation, I did 2 videos that talked about the outside corner position, where I talked about what happens after James Bradbury and after Darius Slay. What are the main backups here? And I talked about, and I have discussed, Tay Gowan and Zach McPherson. Just pause, guys. We're going to get into the whole, Mario Goodrich's and the Josh Jobies and all those, the deeper roster guys. That's all coming up. But let me know what you think about this nickel corner position, guys, because I want to break down Josiah Scott next, because I do think that this is a much more interesting camp battle than people understand. What happens behind Avonte Maddox, I think, is very interesting. It's very interesting, and I think it's going to have a lot to do with how you can form your practice squad, now having the ability to add veteran players to your practice squad. And then in addition to having that caveat in the rule book there, also, what do you do with some of these other guys? Like, how do they fit for special teams production as deep members of the roster? Because your sixth corner or your fifth safety is clearly a deep roster member. All right, y'all. I appreciate y'all, and I'll see you guys on the next video.